President Biden has suggested we might address some of the inflation problem is by more vigorous enforcement of antitrust laws. We had the Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust this week come out and say he thinks he's got some problems with private equity. What do you make of the efforts at the FTC and the Department of Justice on antitrust front?
I'm very worried about whether they are in the right direction. I don't think there's any question that we need to step up antitrust enforcement in America. I don't think there's any question that there are areas where we have too much monopoly power that should be prosecuted, principally where individual firms are merging to get excessive market shares in particular industries. And the budgets of those agencies have been allowed to erode in ways that are quite damaging. What I think is badly misguided and potentially dangerous to our economic future is the set of doctrines that people jokingly refer to as hipster antitrust, or the new Brandeisians after Justice Brandeis. That's a theory that says antitrust shouldn't be about maximizing benefits to consumers, but should be about some other different set of abstract objectives. And I think that tilts very easily into a kind of dangerous populism. If the head of the antitrust division thinks that there are mergers that are headed towards monopoly, he should try to block those mergers. If the head of the antitrust division believes that there are companies that are engaged in inappropriate exclusionary business practices, he should prosecute those companies. But I don't understand what his argument is that whether a firm is owned by public shareholders or private equity shareholders should be dispositive. If he's saying that all the private equity firms are colluding on particular deals, I understand that argument. And if he can prove that argument, it would obviously be a serious problem. Right. But it frankly sounded rather like some of the populist rhetoric that the FTC commissioner, Lina Khan, has engaged in. Right. And I think it's very important that we have antitrust policy based on facts, based on economic science, based on consumers, not on a kind of generalized feeling of hostility and outrage towards business. And I'm frankly worried about that.
Okay, Larry, one quick one here at the end. There was a big objection from the shareholders to Jamie Dimon's compensation. There was a $50 million bonus that they were going to pay him that they really objected to. What did you think of that?
Look, I think taxes ought to be more progressive. And so Jamie Dimon and everyone else who makes a lot of money ought to be paying more in taxes. It ought to be much harder for them to pass large fortunes to their kids. But God, if you look at what Jamie Dimon has contributed to the market value of the share owners of J.P. Morgan, I don't think there's anything unreasonable about his being paid and making as much money in a year as a really great pro golfer. And so I was surprised at those objections. I think the way to get at issues of inequity is to have more progressive taxation, more burdensome taxation on estates, get rid of a whole set of loopholes, but driving people out of leading public companies into the private sphere, away from public companies. I don't think that's smart strategy for our country.